Hello, students. How are you all? I hope you are doing well at home. Today, we are going to start our third chapter, Evolution of Transport. The word evolution means a change of something from which it was earlier to what it is at the present time. And about transport, we are going to read about in this chapter. Transport is the means by which we travel from one place to another, or we trade, or we send our things from one place to another. So, as a whole, we are going to read that how transport got changed from earlier times till the present time. Let us start. We live in a society where we constantly interact with others. From early times, people moved from place to place to meet other people or to exchange news or messages. Another important reason why people travel is to carry out trade. Therefore, improvement in transport has always been a priority among nations. The book tells us that people in the earlier times even used to interact with each other. They wanted to share their messages, their news, they wanted to meet their relatives and friends. So, for that, they used to move from one place to another. The second reason of moving was trade. People used to travel from one place to another for trade. Come to the next page, page number 16. Invention of the wheel. During prehistoric times, people were nomads and traveled on foot for long distances. If they had to carry goods, they placed it on their heads or backs. Now, in prehistoric times means in the earlier times, people were nomad. Nomad means, we have read it in the earlier chapter, that people who move from one place to another in search of food and shelter. So, people who were nomads, they used to walk on feet for long distances if they wanted to move from one place to another. If they had some loads with them, if they had something to carry with them, they used to carry it on their heads or on their backs. The rich people of the times used palki or palanquin to travel from one place to another. I hope you understood what palki is. It's clearly shown in this picture. See, this is a palki. The rich person or the member of the family is sitting inside the palki, and two of the servants or two of the helpers are picking up the palki and moving it from one place to another. The invention of the wheel was a turning point in transportation. Wheels were attached to flat carts called sledges, which were dragged by a person to carry loads. See this drawing. Some logs of wood are used here to move the load from one place to another. After the wheel got invented, instead of these logs of wood, wheels were used just below the planks of wood. नीचे व्हील रखते थे, ऊपर लकड़ी का प्लैंक फट्टा रखते थे. And it became easier for people of the times to carry their loads on top of this from one place to another. The person would drag it with the help of a rope from one place to another. Okay, and this kind of sledge, this kind of vehicle that was used by them was known as sledge. Gradually, wheels were fitted to the carts, this is what I have told you, wheels were fitted instead of these logs of wood. wheels were fitted there just below the carts. And instead of a person dragging it, animals were used to drag this vehicle. Okay, like bullocks, horses, camels, donkeys, mules were used to drag this kind of vehicle, and below this wheels were used. So it became much more easier for people to carry their loads and travel from one place to another. Let us read this. Gradually, wheels were fitted to the carts, which were driven by animals such as bullocks, horses, camels, donkeys, and mules. The animal driven carts also made transportation of heavier loads easier. Yes, means heavier loads or heavier things were also uh, transported with the help of the sledges. Reaching distant places. The nomads or the hunter gatherers gradually learnt farming. They settled down in one place and took up farming as an occupation. These farmers produced more food than they could use and felt the need to transport goods to faraway places. However, reaching distant lands were difficult as there were no roads. Now, as the nomads who used to move from one place to another constantly, as the time passed, they started settling up at particular places. They learned farming, took up farming as their occupation, they used to produce food for themselves, and they even produced some extra. Okay, this extra production was used for trading. Now, just think about it. For trading, they needed to move from one place to another with their loads, with their things what they have produced. And it became difficult for them as there were no roads. The land was unequal. So it was difficult for them to move from one place to another. People then felt that it was easier to transport goods by water. Okay, as they didn't have road, they thought that it will be quite easy to transfer their goods from one place to another with the help of water. Planks of wood were tied together, loads were put up on them, and they could sail through the water. So, what happened later? There was a growth of civilization, especially along the river banks. This played an important role in the use of waterways to transport goods to distant lands. Yes, as they started using water and the water bodies for transferring their goods from one place to another, most of the people started settling up near rivers, and it played a very important role in the development of waterways. Okay, let us continue. Trade and voyage, trade and traveling. As people began to produce more and more food and goods, trade expanded. They undertook long voyages for trade and also for exploring new lands. Yes, now as people started doing trade in a large extent, they started producing more and more, and the trade also developed, the trade also flourished. People started traveling from one place to another in a large scale, and even for exploring new lands, for knowing about the new areas, they went from one place to another. Now, evolution of means of transport. As we generally know, there are three main means of transport, like land transport, water transport, and the air transport. About these three, we are going to read further in the chapter. With the passage of time, people not only needed to travel more but also faster. Their necessities led to new discoveries and inventions. Now, these are a few lines which are quite important to understand. Like, They knew how to travel, but now they wanted to travel faster. As it took days for them to move from one place to another, to look for new places, or to trade for their things that they have produced. But now they wanted to travel faster. They wanted to come back faster. So their necessities means ज़रूरत. ज़रूरत के वजह से they started discovering and inventing new things, which subsequently led to the development and evolution of different means of transport. The different means of transport can be divided into three types: land, water, and air. Okay, now according to their necessities, they starting developing and inventing new and new things, and new types of transport systems came up. A few of them are land, water, and air. Now, let us read particularly about the land transport. You already know that initially people traveled by land. Sledges gave way to carts driven by animals. However, bullock carts, tongas, and horse driven carts are still used in rural areas as cheaper and more available means of transport. Yes, commonly people travel by land. I hope you know this. In the previous page, we have read that sledges and carts were used to move from one place to another in the early times, but they are still used because they are cheaper. They are cheaper. Sasta padta hai, and is the most available means of transport in the villages. So, especially in the villages, carts and sledges are still used. Later in the early 19th century, bicycles were invented. Okay, underline this. In the 19th century, bicycles were invented. They became a popular means of transport and recreation. Even today, bicycles are popular among people because they are, a few points are given. Now, in the 19th century, bicycles were invented, so people very commonly started using bicycles for traveling. Now, even today we use bicycles because bicycles are having quite a number of advantages. Let us read a few of them. Environment friendly and do not pollute the atmosphere. Bicycles are very environment friendly. They do not pollute. Okay, they do not create pollution. Provide good exercise and therefore are good for the health. Affordable. Yes. Now, driving bicycles, I would say, is a good exercise when we pedal. Okay. When we pedal, our legs go up and down, up and down. That is a good exercise for our body. It keeps us healthy. Point number 3, affordable. Affordable means sasta hai. We can afford it. We can pay for a normal bicycle. So, bicycles are very commonly used even now. Now, come to page number 18. It was with the invention of the steam engine that transportation underwent a complete revolution. These engine powered vehicles were more dependable. They could carry heavier loads and move much faster. The first locomotive to use the power of steam was developed in England in the early 19th century. Now, after bicycle, we come to know that what was invented? Steam engines. Steam engines were invented. The engines were very powerful. They could drag, they could take up a lot of load, heavy loads, and even they could manage dragging the loads of human beings. Okay. A few advantages were there of using these steam engines. They could carry heavy loads and they could move very fast. So, it became a very popular means of transport at that time. And the first steam engine or the first vehicle that used this kind of steam power was invented in England in the 19th century. See, I have already underlined a few important points. You may underline the same in your own book. The discovery of petrol and diesel. brought in enormous changes in transport. Vehicles such as motorcycles, cars, buses, and trucks were developed that had engines powered by these fuels. These vehicles have now become the primary mode of transportation all over the world. Now, with the discovery of petrol and diesel, what came into use? Cars, motorcycles, buses, trucks came into use, and we see these vehicles which run on petrol and diesels even now. They are regarded as the primary mode of transportation for the world, right? If we think about going somewhere, what do we think? That we will be traveling on our bicycle, or on motorbicycles, or in our cars, buses, trucks. Loads are carried by trucks, right? So these made our traveling quite easy. Next, we talk about the buses. Buses were quite important means of transport, a public transport which were used for traveling from one city to another. Then with due time, luxury buses came into use. Luxury buses means now if you go to nice buses, AC buses, you'll find there are seats on which you can sit. There are even seats at the top side of the buses where you can lie down, where you can sleep. So these are luxury buses where you get AC and all the facilities that you need. These buses were specially used to travel from one city to another. Good roads with flyovers and crossways help speed up movement of traffic. Now see, the good quality roads, highways to travel from one city to another, or to travel from one state to another. Good quality roads made it easy for people to use these vehicles, and they could even reach up their destination in a few minutes or in less time. The steam locomotives and vehicles powered by petrol and diesel have now given way to vehicles that run on electricity. Now, if we talk about metro rails and metro rails, we find that as due time, as a lot of years have passed, we have developed such vehicles that now run on electricity. Earlier, we saw that steam engines run on steam. Okay, then petrol and diesel were invented, were discovered, so it was quite easy to move on bicycles, motorbicycles, cars, buses, and trucks. And now, such vehicles are discovered and invented which now run on electricity. Let us stop here. We will continue in the second video. Thank you.